Now, again, we're not talking about this scenario specifically, but just imagine that there is a scenario where there is a secured creditor. The bank's holding all the security, obviously, and all of a sudden someone's stuck a wind-up notice in. Now, I know that certainly in my case, I'm on the phone with the client just making sure that it's being dealt with accordingly. But David, you obviously act for all the major banks at various times. A scenario where one of the unsecured suddenly slips in a wind-up notice wouldn't be an unusual one for you?
No, look, it'd be very rare for a bank to be unaware of a winding up petition against a company that's on their watch list and for it to go and slip into liquidation without them knowing. Most of the banks would have some idea about that coming. And I think that they would review their position and see what options are available to them. Just because there's winding up petition on foot doesn't mean there's an act of default. So they may not necessarily be able to appoint a receiver immediately anyway, even if they wanted to. The banks have, generally been willing to work with insolvency practitioners after they've been appointed. They probably want to see who's been nominated, see if it's somebody that they think that they could work with. And they'd also want to assess their position, whether they think the company going into liquidation is going to, compromise the position of the company. If there's leases on foot or it's going to trigger unintended consequences that they may not want it to go into liquidation. That may be the trigger for a receiver being appointed.
Daren, anything to add to that?
I can't really speak for the banks because for the top tier banks as to what is in their mind, because often they're difficult to work out. But in the private lending market, if I had a private lender which was a secured creditor, the first thing you do is assess what their security position is, and the snap appointment of a receiver isn't necessarily always the right move, because with the appointment of a receiver or taking control of security, you can actually incur significant liabilities on behalf of the secured creditor. You're looking at if it's land, for argument's sake, you're looking at having to pay land taxes and statutory charges.
Right.
Insuring the property, making sure everything is secure. So there are a number of things that come into play, and sometimes it might be the case just to allow, as David said, allow the liquidator, if you can work with the liquidator, do the job for you.